Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list has been suggested to me a number of times, and I finally got around to doing it. We're going with the top 10 notes which feature people who have only appeared one time. So, top 10 people who only appeared on one note. Now, there are a couple exceptions. The exceptions being if there were different signature combinations, I'll let that slide. Or if the note was a rainbow and then the next edition wasn't a rainbow, that I let slide. There were other things that I did cut out, though. There's a lot of the higher denomination notes that nobody is ever going to get because they either don't exist anymore or because their price or their cost they're not affordable. So I did skip a lot of those, and a lot of those had people on it that, you know, they were the second or the third treasurer or what the secretary of state for this particular. They were people that weren't well known. So I didn't go out of my way to include those. The people that I did include are people that, one, you're gonna have heard of, or two, have a story that would make sense for it to for them to be on the note that you should probably know. So with that, let's get on with it. The top 10 notes featuring a person who only appeared once. Number 10 on the list. I do not have this particular note, but it is kind of important that you know who this guy is. That is this guy right here. What I've got here is the third issue 5-cent note, and this features the bust of Spencer M. Clark. And if we just zip over here, Spencer M. Clark was the first superintendent of the National Currency Bureau, which is now the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. The first superintendent of the BEP, essentially. And he is on the 5-cent third issue. Now, if I remember right, the third issue, I can take a peek at that real quick. Right here, here's the third issues from December 5th, 1864 to August 16th, 1869. That's when the third issues were. And for those of you wondering, you're talking about FR number 1236. So that is number 10 on my list. The bust of Spencer Clark. Number 9 on the list. Number 9. This is the $100,000 note. This is the largest denomination note ever put out there, and it features Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson only appeared on the $100,000 note, and the $100,000 note was never issued to the public. So, no, you're probably not going to get one of these. This one here, of course, is just a replica. This was from the 1934 series. I think we can see it right there. Yep, series of 1934. Woodrow Wilson, of course, President of the United States. There are, I believe, 2 of these notes on display. I want to say one in the Smithsonian and one at the BEP. I'm pretty sure that those are the only 2 that exist. Anyway, that is number 9, Woodrow Wilson on the 1934 $100,000 note. Number 8 on the list. I have a soft spot for this note. Number 8 on the list is, where's the sheet with all the facts and figures on here? This is the William Windom note. William Windom, this is a, where is it? Take a peek here. The William Windom note is a $2 silver certificate, Act of 1886. I believe this one is from 1891, if I recall correctly. And I'm trying to find it on here because I didn't write that down with everything else that I wrote on. Anyway, the William Windom note. Who was William Windom? He was the Secretary of the Treasury in 1881, and then again from 1889 to 1891. This one, the FR number is 245 if you were thinking about getting one of these. William Windom, this is the only appearance for him. There's the back of that note there. And this one was number 8 on my list. Number 7. Number 7, I'm going with my Jackass note. $10 1880 legal tender. The Jackass note features this gentleman right here. And who is that? That would be Daniel Webster. Now, Most of you probably only know Daniel Webster from a short story called The Devil and Daniel Webster that you were probably forced to read in school. So that is what Daniel Webster actually looked like. But who was he? Well, Daniel Webster, he was actually a congressman and a senator, and he was the Secretary of State in 1841 as well as 1850 to 1852. Now, the first version of this was the 1869 rainbow, but it looked exactly like this. This is the 1880. It's just missing the rainbow pattern, so I let this one slide. Anyway, the Jackass note, as you guys all know, has a picture of that eagle, and as you turn that eagle upside down, it becomes a donkey. That's how you get the Jackass note. Anyway, Daniel Webster on the 1880 $10 legal tender, FR number 113. That is number 7. Number 6 on the list, I went with my $2 educational note. 1896 $2 silver certificate, this particular one, FR 248. Now, you'll notice all the famous people on here, or not, because the famous people are actually on the back. We have William Fulton. I believe this is William Fulton, and this is Samuel Morse. William Fulton, he came up with the idea for the steam engine, if I recall, and Samuel Morse, known for Morse code, more of a pioneer in electronics and than Morse code itself, but that's how he's known. William Fulton, Samuel Morse, their only appearances on here, and this particular note, the 1896 silver certificate, was dedicated to science and industry. Science presents steam and electricity to, where is it? You can read it there. I can't read it because my eyes aren't that good. Anyway, presents steam and electricity. So that is how they managed to get on there, and obviously their only appearance. That is number 6 on the list. Number 5. Number 5 is a gold certificate. This is my 1922 $10 gold certificate featuring Michael Hillegas. Michael Hillegas is featured on the $10 1922. They call it FR 1173. I always refer to this as my Charlie Brown note, and it's probably because at a glance, I don't see the hair. I see the big round spot, and I see the yellow and the black, and I just automatically assume Charlie Brown. So I've called this my Charlie Brown note forever. I'm probably the only person on the planet to call it that, and well, that is my prerogative. Anyway, William Hillegas, who was he? I'm sorry, Michael Hillegas. He was the very first treasurer of the United States. That's why you should know his name. The very first treasurer of the United States. And that is number 5 on the list. Take a peek at the back of that because that's just really cool to see as well. Number 5, $10 1922 gold certificate. Number 4, I went with the 1899 $5 silver certificate, the Chief Note. And yes, that is an actual person that's featured on the note. So now it's time for me to start really butchering names. The chief, everybody called him Chief One Papa, but that was a mispronunciation of the tribe. He was actually the chief of the Unkpapa tribe. So he's been known as Chief One Papa, Chief Unkpapa. His actual name was Tato Khan Inyaka. That's his real name. And the rest of us just know him as Chief Running Antelope. So, yeah, imagine having to write all that stuff down when you sign your name. His only appearance on our currency, the 1899 $5 Chief Note. Let's take a look at the back. You can see a cool note. And this one, of course, is FR 273. That is number 4 on the list. Number 3. I went with the Tombstone Note. The Tombstone Note, this is the 1891 $10 silver certificate, the Tombstone Note, and it features, you can kind of see him on there because mine's not in the greatest of shape, but I've got one. This is Thomas Hendricks. Thomas Hendricks was the Vice President of the United States and he died in office. He was only the vice president for just a number of months. He was put in office in 1885 and died before the year was out. So his first appearance was on the 1886 series, and this one here is from 1891. And like I said, the only difference is the size of the seal. Other than that, the note would be the same. The signatures would be different. So I gave this credit as being his only appearance on a note, since the notes are so similar. Take a peek at the back right there. Thomas Hendricks, vice president in 1885. That is number 3 on my list, FR number 299, if you're looking at getting one. Number 2, you get a threefer on this one. Number 2 is the Bison note, $10 1901 legal tender, known as the Bison note. You get a lot of stars. First and foremost, dead center. A lot of people think that this is Black Diamond. Black Diamond was the buffalo featured on the Buffalo nickel. It is not. This is actually the bison that was in the Washington, D.C. Zoo, known as Pablo. So Pablo is the actual bison that's on there, and no, he didn't make it on any other currency, not even the Buffalo nickel. But who else is on here? Well, we've got this gentleman here. That would be Meriwether Lewis. And on this side, we have William Clark. So Lewis and Clark and Pablo all make their one and only appearance on the $10 1901 legal tender, FR 119. One of the coolest notes out there. And on this list, like I said, you get a threefer. Take a peek at the back. Awesome note, of course. That is number 2, $10 1901 legal tender with Meriwether Lewis, William Clark, and Pablo. And finally, number 1 this week. Number 1, I thought it was important for this note to be number 1 because of the story that goes with it. Number 1 is the 3rd issue 50-cent spinner note. Now, during the start of the Civil War, change was extremely hard to come by, and Lincoln got together with his with the treasurer, and came up with the idea for postal currency. It was basically paper money for change. They made denominations from as little as 3 cents all the way up to 50 cents, and just about anything you can imagine in between. Now, who was the treasurer at the time? Well, that was a gentleman by the name of General F.E. Spinner, and that's what he looked like. That is General Spinner right there. And why is this note so important? Well, first and foremost, this is the only appearance of him on our currency. His signature is all over our currency. That is his signature right there. So you can kind of make it out on here. And yeah, whenever you see a signature that looks like it was written in Old English, that's his. Now, the reason he is number 1 is because General Spinner decided who to put on all the fractional currency. And for this edition, he decided to put himself on there. And for that decision, I am giving General F.E. Spinner the number 1 spot on my list of top 10 notes featuring people that only appeared once. If you learned anything new, well, here's the FR 1339 on this particular one. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. If you have an idea for a list, put it down below, and I'll see you again next week.